Okay, I have been back from New York for about a week. I said in the last video I'd be filming this video about radiation and everything and my whole collection of stuff. Um, I'm in the middle of editing my New York vlogs. I filmed this out of sync, so you'll be seeing those in the future, but I've already been, but I haven't edited them yet, and now I'm filming this. The reason I'm filming this afterwards is because while I was away, well, I've been away from home. It's been about a week and a half since I've been back. And in that time, something's been delivered, which I was waiting on beforehand, which is why I didn't want to film this video, because I was waiting on a couple of things. They've now arrived. I've added them to my collection, and then you'll be seeing them in this video. It was all sort of the same thing, but I got a lot of them, so yeah. One thing I'd like to just mention briefly before we start, with the New York vlogs, from what I've seen so far, I'm on number 8. I've been back a week and a half. I've only been editing them for the past 3 days. There's over 1,000 bits of footage that I've been trying to sort through. And a lot of them have electromagnetic interference. Now, what I mean by that is literally the mic is crackling non-stop. I was worried because I dropped my mic, it might have been that. I had a whole incident while I was there with my mic. I dropped it on the top of the camera, and the jack is fine. I was worried about it being the jack that's causing the squeaking, but it's definitely electromagnetic interference. I've had it in the past, not even just with this camera, but with other cameras as well. It is definitely that. So yeah, it's a bit of a problem when I'm filming in New York because it completely messes up my audio. So I'm trying to minimise the amount of those bits of footage I have the original audio for. I try to play music over them or whatever. But yeah, it can get a bit of a pain, and I apologise in advance for that. But yeah, they're coming out pretty well so far, I think. Obviously, I'll wait for your input on that. They'll probably be going, I think they're going up in about 4 weeks, the first one. Should be. Something like that. But yeah, it's, yeah, they're pretty good, besides the audio issues, which is a real pain. But yeah, as I was saying, I dropped my mic, the attachment for it, so the actual mount, that broke. The mic itself is fine, the jack on the camera is fine, which is what I was most worried about because that would have been really expensive because I would have had to buy a new camera. I wouldn't just be able to just sort out the audio jack because it just completely breaks it. So yeah, that would have been a pain. But I've fixed the mic back to the camera with some electrical wire, so it should be fine. It's fine to use now. I've done, I think, 5 of the vlogs or 6 of the vlogs like this. It all works fine. The audio works fine. It all sounds fine, apart from when there's electromagnetic interference. So yeah, once again, I apologise in advance for that. Hope you all enjoy the New York vlogs, and yeah, let's get into this one. So today I will be doing showing off my radioactive collection of stuff. I've been less interested the past couple of weeks in all of my chemistry things, but since I've filmed the last video, I just kind of wanted to. I was literally going crazy with all the stuff. I was just non-stop thinking about. I just could never sleep. I was always thinking of this stuff. And I just want to dial it down just a tad, and you know, stop poisoning myself with radiation. Geiger counter to check the radiation levels. I will be showing you that a bit later. One thing that I will be basically having to add on to what I was showing in the last video is here. You can see that I've got it on manual focus. So I'll adjust to that in a second. But these got delivered wires away as well. It's 5 foils. It is, I'm checking my periodic table, it's vanadium, tantalum, silver, palladium, and platinum foils. So they're all in this little thingy here. I won't be getting them out because it's like ridiculously difficult to open. But they're there. So yeah, that's them. They've all been delivered, so I've added them to my collection. Just bash my whole camera setup. Anyway, I'm so sort of like a mixture between jet lagged and just everything right now. I'm so tired. I've been editing until like 3 o'clock in the morning, and then I've been getting up at like 7 in the morning to edit. I've just been going insane. Yeah, this is my collection box. On the top, element collection, radioactive storage. This is protective pretty well against alpha particles and beta particles. That's yeah, the gamma rays and potentially neutrons that could be coming out of this because of things I've got stored in here. I'm not protected against, but I've got lead against here, which you will see in a bit. I've got literally lead all down that side along with rocks and everything, and that's the side that faces out. towards my room. I've got it stored in the back of my wardrobe, and that's the side that it faces out of. It's a built-in wardrobe, so it's all brick and everything around it, so it's all contained. So I don't really need to worry about it. But yeah, I always test the radiation levels in my room before I come into my room. Even I will always check if there's any problem. I will sort it out. I've never had a problem because I've stored it well. But yeah, never say never. So I'm gonna get my Geiger out. I'm also going to unwrap all of my thorium lantern mantles because I've stored them in like 50 sheets of aluminium foil. So I'll unwrap all of those, which took me about 15 minutes. And I'll come back and then I'll review my whole collection and show you all of that. Before I unwrap it, I will just quickly take out all of the stuff that is in here so I can kind of show you the other stuff. So this is what I was waiting on being delivered. This is one I already had. They are tungsten electrodes. And they're welding electrodes, so yeah. It sounds a bit weird, but they do contain thorium, at least the ones that have the red caps on them. They're 2% thoriated, so if it's like 10 grams per one, that's 0.1 grams of thorium. I believe my math's right there. So, 0.2 grams of thorium. But anyway, I've got like 60 of them now. I got them really cheap from like Singapore or something, so yeah, that's cool. If I put them in hydrogen peroxide, which is one of the things I showed in my last video that's stored back there, I can effectively make thorium dioxide, which it can be used in a nuclear reactor. So I have some stuff that I could technically make a nuclear reactor out of, which I wouldn't even dare because I wouldn't be stupid enough. If you guys haven't heard of David Hahn, he was the one who on YouTube was said to be the nuclear Boy Scout. Yeah, go and check out his story because it's very interesting, and a lot of the stuff that I have here is basically stuff that he used to make a reactor. I'm not going to make a reactor because I'm not stupid enough, but he made a reactor and then poisoned like 40,000 people with cancer, carcinogenic levels of radiation. So yeah, not great. In here, I will just briefly show the things that before I get it unwrapped. These are all the same things, and I have two more, except they're not in the actual chambers. These are ion chambers. If you can see here, it's got the trefoil symbol for radiation. They pick one of these out. They are all falling off now. These contain very, very hazardous levels of americium. These, although not quite as strong, can be found in your smoke detectors in your houses, probably. Depends what kind of smoke detector you have, or even carbon monoxide alarm, I believe. But on that, as you may or may not be able to read it, I don't think you can read it on the camera there, but it says ion chamber, caution, radiation, contains radioactive material, approximately 29.6 kilobecquerels, equal to around 0.8 microcuries of americium 241. That's an isotope of americium made from irradiating plutonium with neutrons. I will appreciate that this video may be boring for a lot of you, so, you know, that's fine, but, you know. This is my thorium lantern metals. There's 10 of them in here. This is the one that's really wrapped up well. This is the not so wrapped up well, but less active one, because there's two different models. The other one is, I think they're actually both Coleman. That's the brand that they used to use like back in the 1990s and 2000s. But they're, I think, illegal to sell anymore, so yeah. But these are 2. That lot over there is 10. But this one's less wrapped up because there's less of them, but it still emits like, an absolute ton of radiation. Here's 2 more ion chambers, except these don't have the americium in them anymore because I've extracted it and put it into here. It may not look much, but it literally is a note strip, a piece of paper, because that blocks alpha particles, except like 99% of them. And then aluminium foil to just block some of the ones that have got through, which may be producing some neutrons, but you know what, that's fairly safe. Here I've got some uranium glass. I'll be showing this more in detail in a minute. I'll go over it all with my Geiger counter. Radium, right there. I got that from the periodic element guy on eBay. He sells them, except I don't think he sells them anymore because they're probably illegal. I did find a way to get around a block, a UK government GDPR something or other. I think it's GDPR. I can't remember. There's a nuclear association, and they protect against extreme hazardous radiation levels of products and things being imported into the country. But you can get them in America, you can get them shipped over. There is a way to do it, which I'm not even going to consider doing, but there is a way to get a absolute crud ton of radium, which would be ridiculously dangerous, and you can get it for about $4, working out to about £3.20. It's scary, really, because that is really hazardous. So I'm not going to be getting that, except I would kind of like to test it with my Geiger counter and break it. But yeah, I'm not going to do that because I'm not an idiot. I've got some tritium in here. It's a little tritium vial. That is highly radioactive as well. It literally doesn't look much, but that is highly radioactive. I'm not going to get it out of the vial because obviously it's radioactive, but I will go over the vial to prove that it's not leaking stuff into my room. In here, which I'll get out in a bit, I've got some uranium. It's uranium pottery, more of the uranium glass. I think I've got something else in there as well. And then, what else do I have in here? I've got this. I'm going to be very careful with. I got these rocks from a place called South Terrace. It's a place near St Stephen in Cornwall. These are uranium-containing rocks, aka pitch blende. They are fairly radioactive. They weren't when I got them, but since I've been back, most of the products in here, most of the isotopes have decayed into radium, and if there was radium already in there, then it's decayed into radon, which is why this bag is starting to swell up. Also known as radioactive gas. So I have radioactive gas in here, which is scentless, so I can't tell that it's in there. So I squeeze the bag, which I do not want leaking into my room, because that is highly carcinogenic, because it leaks into your lungs, it decays into plutonium, not plutonium, polonium, which is what caused can't speak today, killed Alexander Litvinenko, which was the Russian ex-KGB spy. Anyway, long story short, that's radioactive. Here I've got a soil sample from South Terrace Mine. South Terrace Mine was used in, I think it stopped being used in 1930 or 1929. It was used to mine originally, I think, tin, and it switched to a uranium mine. And it was a whole long story, but it switched between 3 different resources, and in the end it was being used for uranium and radium. And Marie Curie actually got some of her research materials from that mine, and currently is the world's best place to find torbanite, which is one of the most radioactive minerals on Earth, which I was hoping to find while I was there, and I'm sure I was close, but I didn't want to stay there too long because the radiation levels are ridiculously high. So high that if you slept there overnight, you wouldn't wake up in the morning because, number one, you'd be dead, and number two, you would look like a piece of charcoal. It is so radioactive. It's like a natural Chernobyl, and even if you go like 500 meters away from the mine, the radiation levels dip right down. When you're up against it, it's so high that your Geiger counter is screaming non-stop. It is really high levels of radiation. It was around the same kind of level as in Pripyat immediately after Chernobyl, so 3 miles away from Chernobyl after the incident in 1986. That's the kind of levels of natural radiation there is there all the time. So, pretty insane. The other thing I'm going to go over just briefly, I appreciate this is going to be a fairly long video and probably boring for a lot of you, but if you're interested, good. Down in here, I've got my rocks. I've got a rock there to prevent it leaching through to the bottom. I'll try and focus this. Still got a manual focus. I've got lead blocks in there. A lot of lead blocks. So that's protecting against gamma coming out. Well, slowing gamma, making it less harmful, or some of them stopping depending on their energies of the decaying isotope. Anyway, yeah. Rocks to prevent against beta, and then I've got paper and foils and everything else to prevent against the other things. And then I've got loads of aluminium foil down the bottom and all around the sides of here to protect against some of the beta. But generally, if it wants to get out, it will get out. That is sort of the rule with that. So yeah, I'm going to open all these parcels of radioactive material. Try to not be around it too long. Try to hurry this video along because I'm not even joking about this, I'm probably going to just get cancer from just being near this stuff. So I'm going to hurry up and get all the stuff out of the parcels and then put it on camera when I am done with doing that. So I'll be back in a minute. Once again, just briefly, before I actually unravel it, I'm going to, first of all, this is my guide counter, a Red Alert 100X. That means it detects against X-rays, alpha, beta, and gamma. Very, very helpful guide counter. Now, this is immediately ticking up to 0.6, 0.8-ish. You'll see this better in a moment. There you go. You can see it. So the way this works, there is a alpha shield in there and a whole load of complicated stuff. Geiger Miller tube, GMC, Geiger Miller counter, whatever you want to call it. It's a Geiger counter. In there is what you might call a filter, or I'm not even quite sure what you would call a funnel. And that's basically an access to the tube, so that this can pick up particles flying at it, and it can measure the radiation levels. Immediately it's taking up to 0.28. Standard radiation levels anywhere on the planet is up to 0.2, between 0.1 and 0.2. I would actually say it's probably between 0.1 and 0.25, because lots of places have higher radiation levels naturally. In Cornwall, like I was saying, some of those places got up to 98 microsieverts, which is insane. There is a difference. There's microsieverts, millisieverts, sieverts. A sievert is 1,000 millisieverts, and 1,000 microsieverts is 1 millisievert. So a sievert is 1,000,000 microsieverts. I hope that makes sense. So yeah, this is ticking up to 0.26, so this is higher than any regular background here normally. My regular background is normally about 0.21, so that's back down to normal. But then I'm pointing the funnel actually away from all the radioactive material, so if I point it at it, it's picking up some from the box, just standard. It's up to like 0.26 now, so it's not picking up that much. But if I pointed at all this material that is radioactive in my room, it's going up quite significantly. Basically, the faster it ticks, the worse it is for you. So we'll just go through this very quickly while the foils are still on. I'll go through everything else once the foils are off. We'll just go through these ones because I'm going to unwrap all these and then you'll see them afterwards. But with the foil on, this is containing as much as I really realistically can. Let's tick over it. That side's more protected than the other side, so we'll flip it round. So over here, even with the foil on, some of the radiation is still getting through. Not much, but enough that is a little bit of an issue, which is why I have the lead in the box to protect me against it. Again, not that much, but it is ticking up to, at the moment, 0.46. That's going to continue going up. The general rule of the guide counter is to leave it for about a minute to test it out and then see what it goes up to. I won't do that because I know it goes up to about 0.9 to 1 actual microsievert, which is bordering on semi-dangerous. But as long as you're not around it for too long, it's fine. The rule with radiation is really that it is about exposure. So this is my thorium, two thorium nanotantals, which are less protected. I'll let that read for a second and I'll explain. So the rule with radiation is that it's about exposure, the strength of exposure, the length of exposure. It's just all about your exposure to it, how protected you are against it. There's loads of factors, your distance from the source of radiation, and I can't remember her name, that's going to really bug me, but there was a girl who would go around Chernobyl a lot. I think she still does, and she always kept her name private. I can't remember why or anything. She was a bit of a mystery, and it was this radiation, I think, physicist or expert on it. And anyway, she went round Pripyat, obviously the city near Chernobyl. If any of you have seen the HBO Sky Atlantic show, then you will know about that. Yeah, so she will go around Pripyat and test all the different radiation levels all over the place. In Pripyat Hospital 126 in the Soviet Union, she measured, I think it was 2 millisieverts at a distance of about 3 meters from this room. And this room was where all the nurses dumped all the firemen's clothes immediately after the accident. When it was, there's a thing called half-life in radiation. I'm going to give you a basic radiation level lesson. Half-life is basically the time for half of the radioactive isotope to decay. away, so that it either decays into something more radioactive and has a shorter half-life, or is less radioactive, or even just stable. But that half-life means after that length of time, half of it will decay away, then after the next half-life, you'll be a quarter of what you originally had, so it just keeps halving. So it goes from the whole amount, half the amount, a quarter of the amount, an eighth of the amount, a 16th, a 32, a 64, 128, 256, 512, 1024, you get the picture. But with radiation at Chernobyl, some of the isotopes, I believe cesium-137, has been through its first half-life, just over its first half-life, because it's 33 years now since the accident, just over 33 years. So it's a lot less, plus some of the isotopes that were there originally decay a lot faster. Strontium-90, I believe, decays pretty fast. The main contaminants were cesium-137, strontium-90, I can't remember what the other ones were now. There was iodine-131, which decays in like 8.3 days, so that decayed away within a month, so it's a lot less radioactive. And I can't remember what the other one was, but there was another main contaminant at Chernobyl. Xenon was quite a big contaminant, but not really that bad. Barium did contaminate the area quite a lot, but not as much as, thankfully. But there were loads and loads of contaminants, and they're all around the area for ages. And I mean, they're still there emitting radiation. I'm trying to look at my periodic table now to find out what the other contaminant was. Cobalt-60 was the other contaminant. So cesium-137, strontium-90, iodine-131, and cobalt-60. Strontium-90, cesium-137, I believe, half-lives around 30 years. Cobalt-60, I think, is a lot less. And iodine-131 is about 8.3 days. I'm sorry to bore you a little bit. Yeah, I think I've gone enough about Chernobyl. But I was saying about this woman, she said she likened radiation to a bottle of vodka. If you drink it all at once, you'll probably die. If you don't die, you'll be highly poisoned by it, and it's too much to have at once. Whereas if somebody told you to drink it over a year, you would probably not notice anything, because proportionately it's the same amount, but it's spread over a longer period of time. So it's the length of exposure, the amount of the exposure, distance from the exposure. That doesn't really happen with vodka, but at least with radiation it does. Your protection against it. It's a whole load of factors, but basically radiation can be safe depending on different things. Wow, that's higher than I realised it was. That is, I've just taken that off now. That was up to like 4.5 when I first took that off. These are leaching out base particles. This is thorium-232. Decay into protactinium-232, and there's a whole series of it. I'll do the same very briefly with this parcel here. I should have really changed it over while I was talking. But this one, there is more lantern mantles in this one, but it's more protected. So what's that gone up to? Already that's up to over 3 microsieverts. So that's ticking up very, very fast. So yeah, these are very highly radioactive, to be honest. These lantern mantles were used, and maybe still are used in some places, for gas lanterns. They're put over to make it shine more brightly. Now they use other materials, but they don't glow as brightly, but at least they're not radioactive and contaminating you with carcinogenic radiation. Anyway, I'm going to unravel these parcels, and then I will come back to you once that is done. And then we'll measure over everything with the Guy counter, and yeah, I'll catch up with you in a moment. Okay, well, I will just say this. I was not exaggerating when I said about 50 sheets of aluminium foil. You have never played Pass the Parcel until you have done this. That is about 50 sheets of aluminium foil right here. There is aluminium foil all over the place, and I cannot even begin to think how I'm going to wrap this back up again. It is going to be hell. Either way, this is what was contained in there. 10 of these lantern mantles. I touched these with my hands when I got them out of the original packaging. I probably should not have done that. But it's thorium dioxide lantern mantles. Yeah, these don't look that impressive, because obviously what would you be expecting out of these? Yeah, lantern mantles, they're not exactly looking that fun. But these are highly radioactive, as we shall soon see. Okay, that's been left on there maybe 10 seconds now. We're already on 0.999. We're over a full microsievert. We're not even like 10 seconds in. That's insane. Off of there. Off of these ones, this is only 2 of them. I think these may be the more active ones. I thought these ones were, but I think these ones are. That's one on there, less than 10 seconds. It's already over 2 microsieverts, and there's only 2 of them there. They've got to be more active, and that's just insane. And then in here, this uranium in here. Now I have uranium glass. Let me try and refocus this. I've got uranium glass, and I've got so these are the uranium glass beads right there. They will glow underneath light, UV light. And in here I have uranium, sort of like pottery. They used to use uranium in pottery glazing. I'll get these down here so I can keep the camera still and get them out of here. So they used to use uranium in pottery glazing. I do not want to be breathing any of this in, because if I breathe in any of that dust, that's cancer. So, yeah, it doesn't look that impressive, but that is highly, highly radioactive. That is literally all uranium pottery glaze on there. Some people have full plates of this stuff. It's called Fiesta ware. But I don't really want to have a whole plate sitting around. I could probably contain it now, because I've got the right resources and stuff, but really, to be honest, I don't really need a whole plate. I've got all of that already. I'm just trying to refocus this camera. And now I'm going to put the Geiger counter over it when it's totally exposed, because most of this is alpha particles. So that's been over them close to 10 seconds. It's well over 2 microsieverts. Don't know if you can read that on the camera. It's up to 2.9, 3, 3.5, 3.9, 4.2. From experience, that gets up to around 9 or 10 microsieverts. Potentially even more. I didn't even want to keep it out that long. I'm going to close up the paper again. I don't want that to be contained as much as possible, because uranium isn't really that fun to be playing around with. It's got a very long half-life, but it's still very radioactive. So, yeah, I don't really want to be messing around with that. Now, these uranium glass beads, those are what's in that vial over that I already showed you. So I won't show you the vial, but I will show you these beads, because they're in a little pouch. I just didn't want to put all of them in the vial at once. It's probably better in the vial, because they can all be contained better. But these are literally just uranium glass. They used to use 2% uranium in glass instead of now they use 2% lead. But, yeah, uranium glass. Now I'm going to get my UV torch, and I shall show you how they fluoresce. Because the fluorescing thing is actually pretty cool. So, it doesn't go up to that much. From experience, it goes up to about 0.3, but it's not showing it because the Geiger counter is still stuck on 4.4 at the moment. It's not a... It's a very good Geiger counter, but it's not a very fast responding one. I would like a Gamma Scout, because they're the ones that they typically use for like Chernobyl when they're exploring. But I don't need that, so I won't get it, because it's like 400 quid more expensive. And let's be honest, I don't really need that. Plus they cap out really easy. The Gamma Scouts are a real pain in the ass to sort around with. You only really want it if you're a professional at this stuff. So, the uranium glass, UV light. Yeah, that's very, very bright. You can sort of see my pointer right here. They glow a lot. So I even take it away quite a lot. You can see how much that glows just from replacing a light over it. You can see some of the stuff on my floor is glowing because household dust also glows, and bodily fluids, so blood, let's be honest, semen, anything like that will glow. And hair as well, I believe, will glow. So yeah, all of that stuff. They use this in crime scenes, and you can also see pee, I believe, glowing. Urine glows quite well, although nothing radioactive. I believe it's the ammonia in the pee that does that. So when they're looking for cat pee near cat litter on a floor, or I believe you can see cat poo with this. I don't know why I've really gone onto this, but you can see lots of things with UVA light. Some people call it black light. I believe it's the same thing. But for radioactive materials, it creates a process called radioluminescence, and radioactive materials can fluoresce. It depends, because some materials won't fluoresce. Like, for example, let's just get these down. This is not fluorescing. It's just certain materials do. And maybe if there's less of them and it's a clear material, they'll glow as well. Like this is uranium, it glows there, but if I got the pottery out, it wouldn't glow. So it really does depend. Now, I'll keep the camera rolling there. I will lean over and grab my tritium vial, which also glows very, very well. Here is the radium and tritium. So here is the tritium that I have. So it doesn't look like much. In the dark, this will glow by itself because it's got phosphorus inside the vial. It's like a vial within a vial. The big vial, but I'm talking about the little one in there. It has phosphorus inside there, and radiophosphorescence. It is something they use for key rings. This is a trigger light one. You can get these very easily, but only in small quantities. If you want a big quantity, it's like 60 quid for a one like this. So it's yeah, very, very expensive, something like that. But yeah, that glows very brightly as well. I mean, you can only see it very small, but very small little thing produces a very large amount of light. As I say, in the dark, that will glow by itself as well. So it's pretty cool. And the other thing, I have radium here, which is the thing I was talking about earlier. Radium paint. Radium paint, the Radium Girls. It's a good story to look up about. Lots of people died in painting these watch hands, so these ones right here could have been... people could have died to make these, I'll be honest with you. So it's quite scary. But yeah, you can see those glowing pretty well in there. They're tiny little watch hands, but they glow very well, and they are very, very radioactive. As you can hear the clicking. So that's been on there like 10 seconds, up to 0.5, 0.6-ish. And if I take the light off them, this is just a theory of my own. If I take the light off it, it does appear to be less radioactive. Like you can, okay, so listen to the ticks now. If I put the light back on it, so it glows. Sorry for the flashing. Anybody epileptic, I feel very sorry for you. Okay, so got the light on it. Now stick it over there. I have done more invasive tests. It does appear to be more radioactive once the light's been on it. I don't know if it's something to do with releasing more photons or something. I'm not sure. I won't go into the whole sciencey thing because this video is getting on ridiculously long at the moment. But yeah, radium. So that's pretty cool. I've got lots of stuff here. I have now got the Americium. So in here there are the ion chambers. There's a bunch of them in there. I want to open those ones. There are the things that's in the ion chambers. They're buttons, Americium 241 buttons in there. So I will scan those over in a second. I also have a load more exposed ones over here. So I will scan those as well to show you a comparison between the two. I have the thorium electrodes, which I have right here. I'll show you those in a second. And the two samples from the South Terrace mine, and the uranium glass, which I will just briefly go over in the vial, like so. So that's that, and out of the way. All the phosphorescing things, they're all out of the way. Now onto the Americium I'll do next. So you can see the ion chambers here. The ion chamber itself protects the Americium from, well, it protects the outside user from the Americium radiation. But what it does in a smoke detector, for example, it will ionize, so rip the electrons off of the carbon dioxide or carbon monoxide molecules, and then because it will be positively charged, it will be attracted to the negatively charged outer shell because there will be an electric current going through it. So it will stick to it, and then when it sticks to it, it alters the current running through the metal. And when it alters the current, it sets the alarm off, and that's how you know there's a fire in your house. So very clever, very, very clever thing. Other ones use like laser technology, I believe, where it scans through for different molecules, and when something interrupts the laser, it will do that. But I think those can be sensitive to flies and bugs and things, so it can cause false alarms. So these are a pretty good call. Plus, they're very safe to use in the house, and you absorb less radiation over the year using these than you would eating a banana. banana can hit potassium 40, which is a radioactive isotope. Not at all dangerous, but yeah. Anyway, over the top of here, there's a little bit of radiation coming off of it, but again, at a distance, as I increase the distance, nothing. Close up to it again, about 0.372 to 0.4. Tends to go to about 0.6 and it caps out. So that's that. I haven't extracted the buttons out of these ones, so they're still in there. I have 9 of them that haven't been extracted out, 2 that have. Now this has less protection on it, but it still has some protection, because most of it is, I think it's like 90% of it is alpha particles, which is stopped by paper. Some of it's beta, some of it's gamma. It just depends on what is really in there, because it's a radiated plutonium fuel for a reactor instead of something original created. But it's transmutated and it can't all be extracted correctly, so it could be other things decaying in there as well. Americium 241 decays by alpha decay into Neptunium 237, which is some of what I have here, but that's the process that's happening. So it's picking up a lot of radiation coming off of that, but just not as much as it will be in a second. Now this, you're probably going to want to cover your ears when I put it against the Geiger counter. It screams, and it actually caps out my Geiger counter. So I don't know how active these are, but I would guess somewhere in the region of 4 millisieverts, which is well over the radiation level in Pripyat after the original Pripyat, the Chernobyl incident. So yeah, this is pretty crazy. But it's a very small amount, and as long as you don't touch it or get it into your lungs or eat it, then you are pretty safe from it. Because at a distance of 5 centimeters, alpha particles cannot travel anymore, because they have 20 times the ionizing power of both beta particles, which is a free valence electron and a anti-neutrino. So it has and a photon and everything. The ionization things you can look up if you want to. But anyway, yeah. So alpha particles, not really detecting anything from up here, and if I am, it's mainly gamma or beta. So nothing really. If I place it closer, picking up some. Place it against it. It goes pretty insane. That's literally like a second, and it's gone up to 16 microsieverts. Let me isolate one on its own. I can touch the cap around it. What it actually is the little button in the centre, which I shall not be touching. These are technically on some level illegal to extract from a smoke detector, or well, it's illegal to extract from a smoke detector. If I buy an ion chamber, I believe that bypasses the law of extracting it from a smoke detector, because I'm extracting it from an ion chamber. There are some technicalities to it, but I believe I've skipped around the law of that, so you can't blame me. Either way, it's the tiny little button in the centre, the tiny little shiny piece of metal in the centre. Literally there, tiny little button, is americium dioxide. So it's not even pure americium. Some of it is, but mainly it's americium dioxide, which will become neptunium dioxide. But either way, that is so radioactive that it will do this when I put it up to a Geiger counter. Geiger counter there. The funnel is pointing there. If I place it against it, this at a distance. As I decrease the distance, and we're going for the big. I don't know if you can see that. Let me show you quickly. Okay, I'll place it up against it again. I apologise for the sound. If you want to cut off your order, I don't blame you. You just watch how extreme this gets this quickly. That is 0.4 microsieverts. 0.4. So 0.4. $107.8, 775.2. As I say, it's slow counting, but it is technically going up all the time. So you will see there are technically particles flying straight off of this thing right here. So there's particles coming off it. There's something you can create called a cloud chamber. You can do it with isopropic alcohol, which is rubbing alcohol, and you can actually see the particles flying. It's the only time you can actually really see radiation. I might do that in the future. But basically, there are particles coming off it, but it's not affecting me because they ionize too quickly to affect me, and because they're deflected by skin, they're deflected by most things, and they only travel a distance of 5 centimeters. It's the gamma and base that can affect me, but really, let's be honest, there's so little and it's so random that it can't really affect me. So it's fairly safe to be doing this as long as I don't actually touch the button itself. But watch the counts go up on this. You will see it hit 1,100 microsieverts, which is 1.1 millisieverts, which is where my Geiger counter caps out. It does this in around 15 seconds, which means that it should be around 4.4 millisieverts, up to about 5 millisieverts, which is more than the radiation at Pripyat after Chernobyl. So it's insane. There, it specifically said range full. I don't know if you saw that. Let's do that again. There, it says down the bottom, range full. And now it's going to slowly tick back down. So I've taken the source away, it's now fine. I apologise for all of that screaming audio. But I did feel it necessary to show you all of that, because that is insane, the level of radiation coming off of that. It does not affect me. I'm safe around this. Do not think I'm going to die from that. It's fine. Just not something to mess around with. You need to know your risks. You need to know how to manage them. But that is a crazy level of radiation. It actually hurts my ears. I don't know how it's going to sound on the audio, but I'm going to assume pretty bad. It hurts my ears being near the Geiger counter when it's doing that, because it is so extreme. Now, because it's contained within all the paper and everything, it's not as bad, nowhere near as bad. Literally an occasional tick. Barely anything. So you can just see how much of that is alpha radiation coming off of that, which is what is used to detect fire. So it's an appropriate material. It needs to be radioactive to do what it does. But, oh my goodness, it is so loud when it does that. Anyway, so I'm going to put that back in its protective sheathing in a minute. The last couple of things that I've got to show you is all of these. So these are my tungsten electrodes. I'm trying to show you the best I can on camera. So these aren't too interesting. They're literally just electrodes. But when you know what they are, it's pretty cool. There is thorium in those. The original ones I got, I actually can't remember which ones that were the original ones, which is really annoying because I would test against all of them. I'm not sure if the original one, because they're switching over most of them to lanthanum now, and I got them from China and they were cheap. I don't know if the original ones were lanthanum or whether they were thorium, because they didn't actually pop up that high on the Geiger counter. It could just be they didn't use enough thorium or what. I don't know. But the ones I got recently from Singapore, which were even cheaper than that, came out with actually surprisingly high levels of radiation. It might be why they're actually trying to change it over to lanthanum they use now instead of thorium, because of the radiation levels. So this must be one of the ones that I got the other day, because it is actually ticking up quite a lot. Technically it's nothing in comparison to what we just saw a moment ago, but it is still ticking up. That's only at 0.3-ish now, so it's not that much. Let's give it a test on some of the other ones. Some of them will come up higher than the others, because obviously it's a big mix of, it's just an alloy, so they don't exactly measure how much thorium goes into them. Some of them can be quite high, some of them not really very much. That one's going over to 0.4, this might be the one I measured the other day, it went up to 0.7 or 0.8, which is actually quite high. Let's measure this one. Staying about 0.4, 0.5. Yeah, it's over 0.5. I think that's the one I got from China because it's less extreme. The counts just aren't going down, unless that is one of the ones I got the other day. Either way, it goes up to around 0.6, 0.7 on those. And if I dilute them in hydrogen peroxide, that will become thorium dioxide, which I could technically use in a breeder reactor to turn from thorium-232 plus a neutron, which I can make with an Americium beryllium source. Turn that into thorium-233, which decays by beta decay, into practinium-233, which decays again by beta, into uranium-233, which is fissionable, can be used in a breeder reactor, fission, creates energy, which we're looking to do in what's it called? SMRs, small modular reactors, which are looking to build on factory lines, and then implement to power 50,000 homes at a time with something like 500 megawatts of power. It's a whole long thing that you should probably look into because it's probably in the future of our power systems. But either way, yeah, you can do that with that. Again, a lot of it based off of David Hahn's research, which is why I've mainly got into all this. So yeah, I could technically do that, but I'm not going to because I'm not stupid. But yeah. These are the rocks I got from the South Terrace mine. They don't come up particularly high, but it's a lot higher than what they were before. So I think that a lot of the uranium or whatever else was in them has decayed. Maybe some of the thorium into radium or the radium into radon, but there's definitely radon in here because the bag has actually swelled. So there's gas being produced there. And I don't really want to breathe it in, but it's pretty insane. I'll flip it around because the other side of the rock may have a better reaction there. Nah, it's nothing particular. So there's that. The soil sample barely shows up anything. It's just trace uranium in the soil. So yeah, there's not much in there. But that is my whole collection of radioactive things. It isn't a massive collection, but it's a decent collection. It's got quite a lot of things in there. Some things you might not want to have around your house. If you do have anything around your house like that, some of the plates with the glaze, any of the radioactive glass, trigger lights, old watch hands that glow, preferably something before 1970 because those are the ones that have radium in them, potentially, depends. Welding rods or iron chambers, disused smoke detectors, disused microwaves. Microwaves actually have, to produce the microwave itself, it has a coil of thorium. If any of you have that, I would be very appreciative to be sent it. And if you have any thorium lantern medals, that would be very cool as well. I doubt any of that's going to happen, but if you do, please contact me because that would be amazing for me to get that off of you. Yeah, one last thing. I will just go over the thorium one more time. 0.5 in like 10 seconds. It is insane. But I'm going to play Pass the Parcel again. I'm very sorry this video has gone on for a stupid length of time. But I'm going to play Pass the Parcel to get all this back into the coverings. I continue editing New York vlogs, which I hope you enjoy. I hope you enjoyed this. If you didn't get too bored, I'm going ahead and thinking you probably didn't watch to the end. But if you did get this far, thank you. Drop a like. I don't normally say that, but you know, I've done a lot of this. I'm probably going to get radiation poisoning from doing this. One thing I think you might find interesting, while I'm doing this, my neck always gets stiff when I get all this stuff out. My knees always get really stiff. My ankles hurt. Everything hurts. I think it is the radiation. Radiation, juvenile animals and humans, so children or people who aren't fully grown, tend to be more sensitive to radiation because it can stunt their growth. It can also alter. Obviously, it's carcinogenic because it mutates cells. It destroys DNA. It does a whole load of things which I'm not going to go into because it's very complicated. But in basics, it hurts. Doing this actually technically is damaging me, so I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to pack this up and probably not get it out again for a very long time. But yeah, I hope you appreciated me doing this. Hope you found it interesting. And yeah, I will see you in the next video, I believe, for the Iceland vlog. So I hope you enjoy that. And yeah, see you guys in the next one.